Good evening. It's great to see everybody. This is not well positioned. I'm Carrie Baker. I'm the director for the Program for the Study of Women and Gender. And this program tonight is co-sponsored by SWG as well as engineering. Susanna Howe is here, who is a professor of engineering, and they're all her students right in the middle. And then also it is co-sponsored by
Lisa Clausen with the Carpenters Union.
Great. And so first I want to start by thanking folks that helped make this happen. In addition to engineering and SWG, a bunch of students have worked with us over the last 6 months doing research and outreach and posters and everything. So I want to thank them individually. Liz Curran-Broom, who I see right here, Zana Shaw, Molly McGuire, Kaylee Abner, Alex Elazar, Ellison Smith, Michaela Brinsley, Zoe Rubenstein, Leah Parker Bernstein, and Naomi Foreman-Katz. So thank you, all you wonderful students. Really appreciate it. We also have a handful of student organizations that have co-sponsored this event, including Smith Association of Class Activists, Smith Democrats, ACLU, and Vox, which is the reproductive justice organization on campus, and the Smith College Jewish Committee. So thank you for all of your support. So for generations, Smith College has pioneered progress for women at every level, from the founding of the institution to the establishment of the first engineering program for women. Many Smith graduates have gone on to be pioneers in a variety of male-dominated fields, from architecture to engineering. And Smithies continue to be empowered by Smith College's long history of demonstrating that women can and will succeed in all fields. In accordance with Smith's long-standing commitment to pioneering progress for women, the Program for the Study of Women and Gender and the Engineering Program is co-sponsoring this panel tonight with the Carpenter Labor Management Program of the New England Regional Council of Carpenters. Tonight we have a panel of female construction workers and an owner of a construction company to discuss the struggles and triumphs to integrate into the male-dominated field of construction. As you saw maybe from the chart as you just walked in, civil engineering and construction are two of the most male-dominated occupations in the United States. Way back in 1978, in accordance with a presidential executive order requiring affirmative action in male-dominated fields, the government set a goal for women to be 6.9% of federal construction contractors' work hours. This goal has never been achieved. In fact, women are only 2.7% of construction trades workforce. The percent of female apprentices in construction in the U.S. has fluctuated between 2 and 4%. Women comprise, as of 2009, about 24% of all STEM workers, yet still just a teeny percentage in construction, and similarly low percentage in engineering. As well, people of color have also experienced barriers to these jobs. And in fact, these jobs are some of the best paid jobs that are open in blue-collar fields. They provide a living wage with employer-paid training, health care coverage, and other benefits. But these jobs like these are in short supply in the country, but in construction, this field has historically only benefited white males. And so it's really important to open the doors. It's long, long overdue. Women and people of color can be blocked from construction both at the point of admission and once on the job. And some of the barriers they face are things like skills tests that aren't actually related to the skills of the job, things like sponsorship, so that's formal vouching for a person, so those boys club networks that keep people out, lack of awareness of opportunities and encouragement to participate in fields that are aligned with gender stereotypes. Once on the job, Women experience really high rates of sexual harassment, isolation, or they're perceived to be an intruder, and they're not welcomed into the job. Difficulty securing on-site training that's part of an apprenticeship, and gendered socialization, which can be a barrier to women entering these traditionally male fields. Women working in construction are closer to wage parity than women across all fields nationwide. All fields, not just blue-collar fields, all of them. Mean hourly wage in the construction industry is about $21 per hour, 3 times the federal minimum wage. So it's really important that Smith, being an institution for women, that we're for all women, and that we take advantage of every opportunity we have to provide leadership for the young students who are here, but also for the community and the country. If we don't do it, who's going to do it? So Lisa wants to say a few comments about what she's doing, how what we're doing here fits into her broader work in the region.
Thanks, Carrie. And thanks everybody for coming. We really appreciate your interest in this issue and joining in with us in the push to open up construction to more women and people of color. So the Carpenters Union is a part of working with other unions and other organizations across the state to open up the fields, our fields and our work to more women and people of color. So we're doing a lot of aggressive recruitment to bring people in. But what's key is making sure that people are getting hired and are staying employed. And often contractors will just stick with kind of people that they're used to and that they know and are a little nervous about whether women are really able to do this work or not. And the women on the panel tonight will talk about that and assure, as everybody knows here, that that's not the case. It's not an issue. However, what we've found to really work on starting to open up the numbers is to get more owners of construction work to require diversity of its construction crews. So when colleges are requiring diversity of their construction crews, that's creating opportunities for women and people of color, and contractors are making sure that they're employing them. And it's the same with municipalities. We've been working in the city of Springfield on revamping an ordinance they have around their own contracting and creating opportunities for Springfield residents and then also for women and people of color and also veterans. So it's a part, the work that we talk about here and our interest in Smith having leadership in it is a part of a broader effort in other institutions, other colleges in the area, as well as municipalities.
Great. All right, so we'll turn it over now to Susanna Howe from the engineering program.
Thank you all so much for being here. So today at lunch, I had the honor of presiding over the Celebration of Engineering Seniors, which is an annual event in which the engineering program recognizes its senior engineering majors and distributes hard hats to each of them. And you might see a few of them in the audience today. After the students receive their hard hats, they share memories and words of thanks, and we take a group photo of the students in their hats. I love these photos that we have over the years because they capture the collective energy and enthusiasm of the class. The distribution of hard hats started about 15 years ago with Smith's first graduating class of engineering students. As Carrie mentioned, Smith has been a pioneer in women's progress for generations, and the institution certainly made history when it launched an engineering program, the first in the country at a women's college. Nationally, women are dramatically underrepresented in the engineering industry, as Carrie had said. In fact, less than 15% of the engineering workforce is women. In the words of Smith's former president, Ruth Simmons, women must not accept so marginal a role in so important a field. And yet, women in engineering face the challenges of not being taken as seriously as their male counterparts or of having their abilities underestimated. Moreover, girls have historically been discouraged, or at least not actively encouraged, from considering fields like engineering as viable career options. So in 1999, Smith expanded its support of women's education in math and science to include engineering. We graduated 19 students in our first class, and we're graduating 48 this year, bringing our 15-year total to more than 400. To me, the hard hat serves as a really versatile icon for our engineering program and an ideal gift for our students as they embark on their careers after graduation. For some of our graduates, the hard hat is a necessary equipment in their work on construction job sites or in manufacturing facilities. For others, the hard hat serves more as a symbol of the tools and the knowledge that they learned at Smith to help them succeed in their careers. And for all of them, the hard hat provides a form of virtual protection against the obstacles that they may face in their careers. And when the hats are worn at Smith events like Rally Day and at commencement, they are a visible reminder that women can and will and do succeed even in male-dominated fields. My own undergraduate education predates Smith's engineering program, but I also acquired my first hard hat as a college student. As a civil engineering major, I had the great fortune to land a summer internship with Boston's Central Artery Third Harbor Tunnel project, better known as the Big Dig. It was a massive public works project, you probably are familiar with it, to move a major highway underground, to replace parts of Boston's downtown with a greenway, and to improve access to Logan Airport. I enjoyed learning about the complexities of the overall project from a construction management perspective, but I especially loved the opportunities that I had to be in the field, watching concrete being poured, seeing steel being delivered, or a cofferdam being installed. I remember walking through the Ted Williams Tunnel before it was open, wearing my hard hat with pride, inspired to be part of such an immense undertaking. But I also remember that nearly everyone around me, both in the office and in the field, were men. Lack of diversity is a serious problem in the engineering profession, but it is even worse in the construction trades. Indeed, as Carrie said, just 3% of the construction workforce is women, and less than 10% of construction firms are owned by women. As with engineering, women are not often considered capable of doing this work, and women and girls are not often aware of opportunities to work in construction or are discouraged from pursuing it. So tonight's panel discussion is an opportunity to highlight some of the challenges that women face breaking into the male-dominated field of construction. It's also an opportunity to celebrate the successes of our panelists, our wonderful 4 panelists up here, who have demonstrated that women can indeed thrive in the construction industry. And it seems fitting to me to have this discussion here at Smith, at an institution that is committed to supporting women in traditionally male-dominated fields, both in its classrooms and on its job sites. So without any further ado, let me introduce tonight's panelists, and then I will have them speak in more detail about themselves. So to my immediate right is Taika Robinson, who is a journey-level carpenter, a union steward, and a union delegate from Springfield. And next to her is Teresa Copeland, who is a third-year apprentice carpenter from Northampton. And next to Teresa is Lily Thompson, who's a journal-level carpenter and a union steward from Plainfield. And then next to her is Janet Butler, who's the owner and president of Federal Concrete, based in Hopkinton. And we also have some women in the trades who are up here in the front, and I will invite them at any point later in the program to feel free to share their stories or ask questions as well. All right, so to start the conversation, I'd like to ask the panelists to share a little more about yourselves. In particular, maybe you could tell us about how long you've been doing this work, how you got into it, and what you enjoy most about it.
Taika Robinson. I've been a carpenter for 5 years. How did I get into it? It's a crazy story. It's a real crazy story. What, it's too loud?
Go, let's hear it.
Okay. Oh, yeah, let me do that. Can you guys hear me? I'm good? Yeah. All right. I found out information about the Carpenters Union on a party bus. Told you. I was on a party bus, and a carpenter was on the bus, and he was like, "You look like you could do the job." I'm like, "What are you talking about?" He's like, "Listen, you look like a carpenter." And he started telling me everything, all the benefits. And I'm like, "All right, I like to work with my hands. I'm good with numbers. I got this." So he gave me the information, and I went down to the union hall, and the next thing you know, 6 months later, I got an acceptance to the apprenticeship, and ever since then, my life's changed. I'm a mother of a 7-year-old. I bought my first home. I've been, as she said, I'm a steward, I'm a delegate, and it's awesome. The union's changed my life. And in the beginning, you know, I'm coming out of the foster care system, 17 and a half years old, didn't have a clue, went on a party bus, and look, my life's changed. And I'll never change it. I love what I do. I love being a union carpenter.
Hi, my name is Teresa Copeland. I've been doing this work for 2 full years. I just started my 3rd year. How did I get into it? So I went to UMass Amherst, and I have a degree in plant and soil science. And I was a farmer for a couple of years. I really wanted to be a vegetable farmer. And I loved that work, but I didn't love the really long hours at straight time. The labor laws for farming are a little bit different than for the rest of the country. So I was working 45, 55-hour weeks and not getting paid overtime for the overtime I was working. And I didn't like the wages either. Wage laws for farming are also different. I was making like poverty wages, less than federal minimum wage at one point. And I thought a couple of times, like, oh, I should have gone into the trades. I should have gone to trade school. But I thought you had to go to trade school. I didn't know anything about it. Like a year after, I thought that I was dating a guy who was a wood framer. And he wasn't in the union, but he was like, this stuff isn't too hard. You could do it. Come to work someday. You show all the guys up. And I was like, me? No, I'm scared of power tools. No, I can't do that. And he didn't push me, and I just let it lie. And then, fast forward, like another year and a half, I'm at my parents' house after Thanksgiving, and I've like got my feet up, and I literally Googled it. I literally Googled like how to join the building trades, and I think I had to refine it like how to join the carpenters union, because I thought I would just go and apply for it like any other job, like that doesn't bother me. But I was like, how would I convince them to hire me? Like I had no construction skills. And I didn't know anybody who did it, so nobody that I could know to get in. So I Googled it, and I found the New England Regional Council of Carpenters website, and they have this incredible video on it that's of all these women carpenters in Boston pointing at buildings all over Boston and saying, I built that, I built that, I built that. And I watched it, and I thought, oh, maybe they want women. Maybe I can apply. Maybe they'll let me in. But it was a total shot in the dark. I had no idea if I was going to like it, and I didn't know if I was going to be good at it. I had no construction experience, but I got in, and they let me in, and I was really scared, but I like it, and I'm good at it, and I'm not broke anymore. I'm not a broke farmer. And it's really, really been incredible to be in a union, to be in something that's bigger than me, and to have like solidarity with other workers is really important to me, and to know that my union has my back if I have problems at work. It's been really, really amazing.
Hi everyone. Oh, maybe turn on. Hi everyone, thank you for coming out tonight. My name is Lily Thompson. I live up here in the Hill Towns in Plainfield. I'm a graduate of Franklin Tech, the construction department. I tried each one of their shops. I thought I would be maybe an electrician, and then I zapped the snot out of myself. I'm like, all set there. Tried auto body. I like painting cars. I like designing things, that kind of thing. Fumes, man, it smells really good, gives you a nasty headache at the end. That one's out. Lo and behold, carpentry, I thought I'd be like doing fine cabinets or something or other. I wound up doing a co-op with a local small general contractor up in the Hill Towns, Russ Donaldson. He was amazing. I called him every single week for a semester. Lo and behold,
Hey, I was on his job site for my second half of my junior year and my senior year. I wound up working for another company doing their in-house drafting and then building what I had drawn. I figured I'd, do more of the drafting end of things. Lo and behold, they went under. And next thing you know, my husband, who's related to everybody, had numerous family members in the union. They're like, well, you already know some of it. You can read a tape. Try the Carpenters. Carpenters Union 108 just merged into the entirety of Western Mass from Worcester West instead of Springfield West. And so it's been pretty interesting. I have 2 young kids, 6 and 4, little holy terrors, as any parent knows. And it's been great because being part of the Carpenters, I have managed to stay employed throughout 2 pregnancies, and I have now 15 years in. So having joined at 19, potentially I could retire at 49. We'll see how we do.
So let's see, I started in the construction industry almost 30 years ago, and I was a girl in someone's construction office. We were a site excavation company, and from there I parlayed that into several other positions, both inside the office as well as out in the field at different genres of construction, bridge work, resurfacing, paving, an electrical company that did intelligent transportation systems back when Amber Alerts were the big thing in the 90s. And I ended up in concrete, and I ended up in civil. And for me, when I decided to start my own company, I was number 2 in somebody else's company. And it was the 3rd time that I ended up being number 2 in somebody else's company. And I knew that the state of Massachusetts had an affirmative marketing program, and it gives out contracts to qualified minorities and women business enterprises. 10% of every state construction project has to go to certified firms. So that was kind of the start for me, knowing that that would be a leg up. It isn't a handout, it is a hand up. It just gives me the ability to play in the game. And that has been a game changer for me. A lot of times I'll hear, we're going to take a risk on you. We're going to give you this job. And then when I'm out there and I'm performing the job like MGM Casino, and they say, you've really surprised us. And I say, that's because your expectation of me was so low to begin with. But that's when I know that I have earned a customer and I've done something right, that I have really broken the stereotypes of gender roles of what women can and cannot do in construction. And the biggest compliment for me is when a general contractor gives me a project, and not because there's an affirmative marketing goal that they have to hire me because it's a private job and they've given me the contract because I'm good, because my team is good, because there's quality and we drive schedule and we're safe. That's how I know that I'm doing the right thing.
So I talked with my engineering students before this panel and asked them to suggest some questions that they might want me to ask. And one of my students in particular wanted to know about misconceptions in the construction industry. So I'm asking, could you talk a little bit about some of the misconceptions that you had before you went in, and what other misconceptions you've heard from other people?
So for me, I guess the biggest misconception that I had coming into the construction industry was that it was hard. It's not hard. It's not hard at all. And once you have the confidence that you understand how the industry works, it becomes easier and easier because it's a very small industry. That can be good and that can be bad. It's small in terms of, when you get to the level that I've gotten to, there's very few female owners. And most of the people that are in my sphere that I deal with on a daily basis are men. Very, very, very few times have I run into women at the executive level. Even in some of the really big construction companies, you would expect in the city of Boston that there would be executives. There's one company in particular where they have a mentorship program for companies like mine, Women Business Enterprises, and they couldn't find a female mentor for me because none exist. And that's kind of surprising that, you know, in 2018, there are not a lot of women doing what we do. And I'm hoping that, you know, as the next 10 years progresses, that I'll be part of the ability to change. There's more women in construction leadership as we progress forward.
For me, misconceptions, if you can think of it, there is one out there, and you're likely to run across it, not just once, but probably before you put your hard hat on and get out of the car at the end of the day, and by the time you hit break, and again at lunch. Whether it's, hey, can you lift that, or can you go pee in a porta potty without freezing various bits of yourself off and get your clothes back on and your layers back together in a timely manner. If it is being able to reach things, if it's being able to find a way that your center of gravity is lower than others and make it work for you, it's all there. If it's being able to be the person who just shows up at 7 in the morning and works straight through till 3:30 like any other person would if they were in an office, sometimes that's just the biggest one, that they don't believe that women actually work. You name it. Like, when I try and think of one particular one, just so many come to mind that it's mind-boggling.
As far as misconceptions that I had before I got in, I thought people were going to be a lot meaner to me. I knew that the level of sexual harassment I was expecting to face was going to be very high, but I thought people were going to say like really. I thought people were just going to be like really awful and really mean to my face. And it's not that I don't experience sexual harassment and sexism in the trades like a lot, because I do, but a lot of people are really nice. And like the first job I was on, I didn't know anything, and I didn't know what I was doing, and I kept having the screw gun in reverse when I was trying to put a screw in. And the guys I worked with were so kind. They were like, the muscle will come, you just got to keep doing it, like you'll get the hang of it. And even on the job I'm on now, people are really kind. As far as misconceptions that other people have, I get asked what my favorite kind of wood is a lot. And I'm like, well, 2x4s? They're like, do you like cherry or oak? And I'm like, plywood, 3/4 inch plywood. A lot of the work that we do is with 2x4s and plywood as far as wood goes. We do use wood for finished stuff, but a lot of the commercial framing that we do is with metal. So that's a misconception.
Whoa. Misconception. When I first started my first job site, I didn't know what to expect. I was at Westfield University. Stepped on there, I didn't know nothing. But honestly, my experience being in the union, it wasn't bad. The guys treated me good. The guys, they even bought me my pouch. I had a pouch, but they said, you know what, Ty, take that off. You one of us. I said, okay. There was a couple of bad experiences, though. And, you know, me being a black female in the trades, I had one of the guys was like, why don't you just collect welfare? I'm like, wow, why don't you collect welfare? He said, I've been married twice. And I mean, hearing someone say that, you know, that was a punch in the gut. Another time, you know, because a lot of these guys, some of these guys come in and they skinny, you know. I show them up, they get jealous. And they be like, you know what? I'm hitting something one day, and one of the guys was like, you know, men just have, you know, better upper body strength and this, that, and the third. And I see an apprentice over there. Please forgive me. I see a young apprentice over there. He's struggling with lifting a 3/4 inch plywood, and I go over there and just say, hey man, I'll help you, you know what I mean? And I look at the guy and said, yeah, you know? But other than that, I mean, going through my apprenticeship, the guy's been good. You know, you just gotta pull your weight, and that's it.
Great, thanks. All right. So as you heard, both in my opening remarks and in Carrie's, less than 3% of the tradespeople are women, and less than 10% of construction firms are owned by women. So what do you think needs to be changed to change those numbers? What are the top things that you would push for? Lily, do you want to start?
So my 6-year-old, she's a little girl. My husband is a mechanic, and every time I come downtown with my kids, lo and behold, my little girl sees like a man basket, one of those blue or orange lifts, and people can go up and work on things in them. Mommy, did you drive that one? Mom, I bet you drove that one. Mom, did you make that building? Mom, did you work on that school? And it's very gratifying to be able to tell her, hey, yeah, I did. And no, not that one, not every single one, but you know. It's a gratifying response that she thinks that that's a possibility, because what she'll say is that mommy can build anything and daddy can fix anything. Thank God he can, otherwise I wouldn't be on the road. But my daughter's 6, and that she even has it in her head that it's a possibility, to me, is the biggest thing. There's a lot of girls in her class that are not gonna go out and get muddy. They don't know how to drive a nail. They don't know what a power tool is, any of that kind of thing. Gender roles are, you know, cemented in our heads at an extremely early age. And if we can tell girls or men if they want to be hairdressers, I don't care, you know, if we can sort of blur that a little bit, I think that personally is the first step.
So for me, I think that there's a few things that need to happen. And we were talking about this a little bit before the panel started, that women really need to lean into those leadership roles and not be afraid to take responsibility on. And, you know, so Federal Concrete has 450 employees in 4 states. We're in Massachusetts, Rhode Island, Connecticut, and New Hampshire. And you know, about 8% of my workforce is female, which is better than most companies in my market, but I'm really pushing to kind of drive those numbers. And there's 2 ways that I'm really trying to do that. One is I'm trying to get the journey people who are employed by my company to step up and become foremen so that they can step up and become superintendents. And I think it's really important for women to see that there's upward mobility in the trades. And I think it's really important for women to see that this is a career. This isn't something that they can just do for a few years, although they could do it for a few years, back out, and then, you know, re-enter one of the union trades. But I want them to look at Federal Concrete like this is a path for them, a path for success. So that's one way. And the other way that I think that we've been partnering with the unions, and we're signatory to the carpenters, the laborers, and the iron workers, is making sure that the union government represents women as well. So you've got 2 women who are sitting here on the panel tonight who are stewards, and that's one of the first things that we do when we call in our jobs to the business agents is we say, do you have a female steward? And when they say no, that opens up a whole nother discussion of why not? Why aren't you recruiting them? Why don't they have that upward mobility within the union as well? So I really think that, you know, upward mobility is the way that we're going to retain more females in the trades.
I think we need more institutions to set goals for women on their projects. If we can't get a foot in the door, we won't work and we won't stay in the trade. Projects where there are goals for women or where there are where contractors have to hire and recruit women, like contractors can say all day long, oh, we can't find the women, but when they have to, they find them. And when there's jobs, we stay in.
Us being here tonight is one of the biggest reasons. You know, we need women on these job sites. You know, we got to feed our families, and we can do the job. being when 5 years ago when I joined the Carpenters Union, I was on a job, and after the job ends, I don't know what's going on with this, hold on. All right, I was on the job. After the job ended, I went to go look for another job, and there was already a female working. So I went up there, I went to the trailer, spoke to the super, and he pretty much said, we already have a woman working. So you wanna know what that means? They met the quota. So I had to turn around. I went to another job, and I looked on the site, and I already seen a female working, so I didn't even bother to go to the trailer. Because before MGM came, that's how it was. So MGM, they said, listen, we want, what is it? What's the percentage? 8%. 8% women working. MGM's the first job that I've worked on where every woman in the trade, from carpenter to plumber to electrician, we have 5, 6 of them. All my union sisters here, we all work at MGM. We never seen that. So just going to the job site every day, it felt good. Hey sister, what's up? You know what I mean? And one of the, I was working with a guy, and I asked him a question. I said, so how do you feel about all these women here? He said, I like seeing that, and I want to see more of it. He said, I've never seen this. He said, I've never. And it's the truth. And it just brings a different atmosphere into the workplace. Because all my union sisters in the trade, down to carpenters, down to electricians, etc., we all smile, we're all coming in there, and we're all busting our ass, and we know what we're doing. You know, that was awesome to see. But like I said, I'm coming from 5 years ago, not even walking on a job site, then I had to turn around, because I already knew what he was gonna say. And that's why we're here tonight. We gotta change that, because we could do the job. And we need you guys to support us in that.
Open it up to the audience and see if you have questions you'd like to ask. We have a mic on each side, and so you are welcome to direct questions to individual panelists or to the whole panel. And I'd like to recognize the people in the front row who are here. Maybe before we open it to the audience, they could at least say their names and what kind of work they do, so we know that they're here as well.
Come on, sister. Come on, stand up, sister. Don't be shy now.
I'm Amy Calandrella. I've been an operating engineer, heavy equipment operator for 3 years.
I'm Katura Holness. I'm a first-year apprentice, just coming up on a year.
Okay, and you're there, baby. You got it.
Hi, everybody. I'm Samantha Clinton, hyphen of Mabel. I am just journeyed out, so last week was my last week of training. And I work at MGM in Springfield right now, and I'm a carpenter.
That means 4 years of training she survived and has under her belt. Woo!
Hi, my name is Stephanie Santos. This is my 4th week, carpenter apprentice, MGM.
Hi, my name is Mayeli. I've been in the union for 6 months, and I work at MGM downtown Springfield for Massey Glass.
Hi, I'm Amelia Box. I'm a first-year apprentice at MGM.
Hello, my name is Julie Boucher, and I am a carpenter. And I've been in the Carpenters Union for about 5 years, and I just wanted to extend my thank you to you guys coming tonight. Like, this is so big, and thank you so much. Oh, sure. Yeah, so just a little bit about my history. Just in the last 7 months, I've been working up in Pittsfield for the last 6 months. On that job, there were about 150 men on that job. That's a lot of guys, right? I was the only female. There was one other female electrician coming, going, but I was the only female on that job. And it's really sad to see. Like, I was on that job this summer at MGM, and just mind-blowing. Just every corner you go around, there was a woman. And, like, it was just so it was just so comforting having those women just there, just for support, and just having the opportunity to be there. This job that I'm on right now, at Western New England University, I just got there last week, and again, I am the only female. And it's tough, you know, being the only female on a job. You just keep your shoulders back, and you put a smile on your face, and you do the best you can. But I'm very grateful for you guys caring enough to have us come out here tonight and ask for your support to, you know, care about women on job sites and diversity on job sites, because we definitely need your help. So thank you.
Hello, my name is Charlotte Edget. I'm from Uganda. I'm going into my second year of apprenticeship in the union. My first job was actually in Hopkinton, working for Federal Concrete, and I have the same hat. It's a really cool hat. People ask me all the time, where did you get that? I'm just going into my second year now, and I've learned so much within the past year. I've done concrete work. I've done metal framing. I've done finished carpentry. I've acquired a welding license and learned how to read blueprints, which is really cool. So it's going really well, and I'm glad I joined.
So please feel free to come down and ask questions. I'm sure you have questions that you'd like to ask the panel.
Come on, guys, we need some questions.
Here comes one.
I'm Leah, and I'm a senior at Smith. So this morning, the facilities department released a statement saying they were going to institute requirements on the job at Nielsen, but the first line is, Smith College is committed to fair labor practices, and so just noting that that's a pretty vague idea, fair labor practices. My question is kind of two parts. First, for the panel, what do fair labor practices mean to you, and what would need to be true to ensure that they are met and maintained? And if there are like administrators or members of the facilities department in the audience, what kinds of fair labor practices are being implemented at the project, and how is the institution being held accountable to ensure that they are being upheld?
So I'll have the panelists answer the first part of that, and then I will ask Roger Mosier from Facilities to answer the second part.
As far as fair labor practices go, one of the things we talk about in the union a lot is wage theft. We usually don't have a wage theft problem in the union, but in the non-union construction sector, wage theft is very common. Wage theft is the practice of misclassifying your employees as independent contractors, so they get cheated out of certain types of taxes and workers' compensation, or just not paying your workers at all. In the union, we have in our contract, in the carpenter's contract, we have a rule that says if you work more than 8 hours a day, you get paid time and a half for hours after that. And that's because my understanding, the stories I've heard from the non-union sector, is that your boss will have you work like 10 hours, 15 hours to finish a project in one day. And then you think, oh great, I'll get overtime after 40 at the end of the week, but then they have you stay home the rest of the week. So you only get paid straight time, but you work 15 hours in a day, which is a lot. Fair labor practices to me means union.
So from an employer perspective, union versus non-union, I'm a union contractor. Everybody who works for my company is a union member. Therefore, they're getting health, welfare, pension, and annuity, which is paid by the employer in addition to their hourly rate. And you know, there's no trade that's working for me that makes less than $75 an hour with benefits. So they're making decent wages for fair work, and they have fair conditions, and the conditions being, you know, not only about the overtime rules, but about being humane, giving them breaks, providing water, shelter. You know, there's a lot of criteria that goes into the collective bargaining agreements with the various unions, and that's what it means to be providing you know, fair employment to your employees. But I also want to say, just as a kind of precursor, is that Smith College, I believe, selected Shawmut Design and Construction for the project. And Shawmut is a signatory union company. So that flows down to their subcontracts. They have to hire union companies that are signatory to the unions that they are participating with. Doesn't mean that all the companies out there are going to be union, so just the ones that they're signatory to. So it's really incumbent upon Smith to make sure that the union label is carried throughout the trades. And that's one way of really making sure that there's fair labor practices that are being monitored and implemented.
Just as a side note, I had only heard that Smith designated those requirements this afternoon at lunch, and so thank you, Smith. I think that that will be a very good thing for everyone involved, and I will be appreciative of working within an hour of my house, because I believe I will be working on this project with the Shawmut team.
Well, hello everyone. As Susanna said, I'm Roger Mosier with Facilities. We're covering a couple of pieces of ground with this question. The statement that was released a few days ago, very recently, was really focused on the requirements, the goals, we're calling them, for diversity, for women and minority participation, and that's new for Smith. This is the first time that we've done that, and we're glad that there's a framework that I think has evolved at other projects that we hope to be successful with. The question of union, a couple of things. First, as Janet said, Shawmut is selected, and they're signatory to certain unions. Carpenters, laborers, concrete firms that are represented here. Not every subcontract or every trade is represented, mechanical, electrical, and so forth. We do tend to have union contractors win some of those, and sometimes they don't. We have a long, I think at least 50-year relationship with union employees, most of which I manage, in the trades, electricians and mechanical technicians and so forth. And you know, I think the statement at the beginning that we're committed to fair labor practice is not it's sort of a statement that we've been making for a very long time across a lot of communications. And so it's sort of a introduction to the topic of something that's new for us, which is the goals for the Nielsen project. Oh, sure. Sure. So if you go to our website, there's information there, and you can certainly talk to us with questions you may have afterwards. But our goals are 7% women workforce, 16% minority workforce, and 12% minority and women business enterprises combined.
Three things. Number one, I graduated from Smith 10 years ago. One of the last things that I remember doing was occupying the president's office when I believe it was Ford Hall that was coming in under construction. It wasn't going to be a union site. There was a lot of protest. We studied for our finals protesting that. I'm really pleased to see the gains and the improvements that Smith has made with its labor practices over the last several years. Thing number 2, that thing you all talked about being at MGM and seeing a woman around every corner, that's why we went here. We know what that's like.
Yeah.
That's really awesome. And we're glad y'all get to experience it too. Thing number 3, we've talked a lot about the job sites and the culture of the job sites. I want to talk a little bit more about the union itself and being in the union. I'd like to know how much of your political self is centered around being in the union. Does the union align with you politically? Does it diverge in some places? Does it converge in some places? What's that like?
Hold on, my sister right here. Come on, Julie.
So I wasn't very political back in the day. But it's funny, when you join a union, it's like joining a family, right? Like, it's like no other. Like these are all my sisters, and that means a lot to me. Like these are my family. And so when you are on these job sites and you see your brothers and sisters around, you get a sense of security. So I guess my political stance on it is I fight for my brothers and sisters. Like, this is my family. I'm going to make sure that they're taken care of, And yeah, I think that's how I think that's how we all kind of feel, is that we all kind of support each other. And you don't really find that on non-union job sites. You don't have that solidarity. And so now I'm actually very politically involved. In fact, I just got on my e-board just a couple of months ago. I was kicked off because of our merger, but now I'm a voting delegate, and that's not something I would take on before, but now, absolutely, because I'm fighting for my family and what we all believe in. So, and again, thank you.
All right, oh man, every time I pick this thing up. Being a steward on the job site, I play a big part. Any carpenter, male, female, if they have any problems with, let's say, the general contractor, or say if they don't have water, if they don't have a table, whatever's in the contract. If a carpenter's unhappy, it's my job to say, hey, okay, let me go check the contract, let me go talk to the super, let me go figure this out. I have their back. If one of the female carpenters if they need help with something, if someone's bothering them, if they're getting sexually harassed, they come to me. And it's either my job, depending on what the situation is, to go talk to the person whoever's doing the harassment, or whatever they need. It's my job as being a union steward to help my brother or my sister out. And I have zero tolerance for sexual harassment. And I let my sisters know, because we have a lot of young apprentices right out of high school. And the political version of this, they're young. And a lot of these other journeymen are older men. And some could be perverts. I'm being honest. And that's why Julie, she's in charge of the mentor program, and I'm a mentor. And we get these young high schoolers, because like I said, they're coming straight out they're 18. They're 18 years old, they're working with 50, 60-year-old men or whatever. And sometimes some people, we work in a professional atmosphere, we're supposed to, but it doesn't work like that all the time. And it's our job to mentor these young apprentices and let them know certain things, And I got their back 100%, no matter what. I got my sister's back, and each and every one of them, they know it. And I've had their back, because stuff happens. And like I said, my job, I tolerate zero, and I'll pull them aside, because it won't happen. This is your job, this is your livelihood, and this is theirs. End of story. But, Sensei?
In terms of being aligned politically with the union, the Carpenters Union in particular has been very good to Federal Concrete. They have been one of the partners in understanding diversity long before a lot of the other building trades saw it, and really fosters it and mentors it to make sure that that there's opportunities for women and people of color. One of the things that the Carpenters Union has recently gone through is a restructuring, and a lot of the locals were merged, and they saw that as an opportunity to diversify their e-boards, which is the governing body of the unions. And there's a lot more women sitting on the e-board seats and a lot more people of color. At least there is Eastern Massachusetts, I can tell you that, because a lot of my employees were like, we got thrown from the e-board and she's on, and so. And that's been really important. One of the other things that has happened for me politically is that through my affiliation with the Carpenter Union, I was invited to sit last year on a delegation to India to research construction workers, because there 50% of the construction workers are women. And they're really awful jobs. There's no OSHA, it's low wages, there's high infant mortality because the kids are brought to the construction sites and they're crushed, and it's awful. Here, it's a really great job, and it's very safe compared to most other countries, and wonderful wages, and women can't get in. So there's a real dichotomy between the two. And the fact that my affiliation with the union afforded me the opportunity to do something like that has been really meaningful for me as a person, and I kind of am able to bring that back and bring that into my own company.
Hi, Dane. Thanks for your question. As for me, I am a feminist, and I believe that feminism must be intersectional and must be anti-capitalist. And what better way to do that than by being in a union who's founded by a socialist, as the UBC was.
Hi, I'm Abby. I'm a student here, and I am an IWW 620 student workers member. I work over as a scenic carpenter in the carpentry shop of the Performing Arts Department. And I'm so happy and so overwhelmed and inspired to see all of you and see you up here. And this is really a treasure for me and feels really special. And I'm very happy to be here. But I was really sad to hear, Ty, your story about this situation with this quota of one female worker that you were talking about, because I feel like the situations of mentorship that I've had with female technical directors and female master carpenters have just given me the opportunities and the skills that I've had. So I was wondering if you think that sort of one woman quota sort of leads to a culture of competition. And I was wondering if y'all who are involved in the mentorship program could talk a little more about that and say what that experience has been like, especially mentoring young women, and just how it's kind of changing that culture.
Hold on one second, Julie.
Can I just jump in for a second? So lo and behold, I just spent 13 months over at Mount Holyoke College, and all women's.
Sorry, hold on.
I spent a bunch of time at Mount Holyoke College working on their combined dining hall, and lo and behold, in 15 years of working in construction, it was the first time I worked for the same company in the same little 8x8 area with not one other woman, but two other women. The three of us worked on a little project stripping concrete for Janet. It was utterly mind-boggling. I had to stop and pinch myself or whack myself in the head with the hammer a couple times to really just make sure it was going on, because in 15 years, I had never worked with another woman. So Lisa isn't really giving herself enough credit here that she's pushing for this and she's making it happen. I've seen women come and go. It's not for everyone. It's not for everyone. But the ones that stick with it, keeping them, that's a big deal. And I had a point here at one point. It's just so cool to see them around and knowing that we are capable, because, you know, if you can pick up your 4-year-old sleeping who weighs 1,000 tons, why not? Where did I start with mentorship? Mentorship, yeah. So I didn't realize it, but one of the guys I've worked with in the past has left and gone sideways with his career, and he's teaching at one of the local tech schools. And I had this young lady come up to me recently, and she's like, "Oh my God, you're Lily Thompson." I'm like, "Yeah, you know, last time I knew, that's true." She has been hearing about me for, what makes me feel really old, you know, long enough to go through 4 years at the tech school and hear stories of me. So we all do mentoring whether we realize it or not. And sometimes just being the smiling face on the job site, or the shoulder, or just knowing that there's other people going through the same thing is the biggest thing. But the first thing I do when I see a woman on a job site, you spoke about competition, I go up and I give her a great big smile and I shake her hand and, "Hey, I'm Lily and it's a pleasure to have you here, and here's the combo to the porta potty." You know, like, competition is a big thing, and I get that, but like, I haven't had Ty's experience with getting shown away at the door, but some of that is because I was on these sites before there was really the push, before there was really the awareness. It was just, I had made sandwiches for years. God, I hate going home to the smell of stale mayonnaise and pickles. I worked as a receptionist at a hair salon. I can't keep my clothes that clean for that long and smile at people all day. I'm just not cut out that way. You know, so there's been other things that I've done, and to just go in with a smiling face every day sometimes is the biggest part of the battle, but that can also be the biggest part of mentorship, to just be aware that there's other people in the same boat you're in.
Just to add to what Lily said, I was on that job at Mount Holyoke where Lily was at, and that was the first time in my life that I ever saw another journey level carpenter who was a woman. I was like standing up on the wall that we were working on, and I looked down, and Lily's at the sawhorses, and she's got her speed square, and she's marking a 2x4, just like, you know, you mark a 2x4 and you cut it, but it was a woman doing it, and it, like, I will never forget that. Just, it's a big deal.
All right, hold on. I'm on Union Street in Springfield, Mass. The Head Start for MGM, the employees, every time. Hold on. Jesus. All right, it's probably all the metal in me, I don't know. But I'm the steward on the site on Union Street, the Head Start, and my partner, well, she's in school this week, is a first-year apprentice, her first job ever. She's 21 years old. She's from the Dominican Republic. And, you know, like Lily said, we got to introduce every woman, no matter what trade. "Hey, what's going on? What's up, sister?" Some speak back, some don't. But, you know, you guys all know how it is. So other than that, I always speak to any female that works on the site. Doesn't matter if it's carpenter, plumber, whatever. But now for my carpenters, you know, her and I working together, she's never worked with a female before. So, you know, I've been teaching her a lot of things, and I also been showing her to let her know what's in the future. Listen, you gotta move a little faster, because you're gonna get that partner who's gonna be like, come on, come on, come on. Hit it with your purse, you know what I mean? I throw all that at her so she can be ready. You know, I build her up, and that's what it is. You know, I'm not gonna let her go out there blindsided. And it's awesome working with another female. It's great because, you know, she has an eye for certain things. I'd be like, you know what, you're right, let's do it like that. You know? But it's good. It's great.
And good on you for being in construction in whatever form. Being in the Carpenters Union isn't the only way to pursue carpentry or building in any manner. And to be out there with the tools, that's awesome, but maybe someday I'm gonna be an owner like Janet, or maybe someday I'm gonna go be an architect and not make the silly mistakes that I see some architects out there making. You know what I mean? There's just so many possibilities. And so it's gratifying to hear of other women in other places doing other things, because construction, it's all around us. I mean, we're in a building, we're walking on floors. You know, there's sidewalks out there. It's gratifying to hear of other people out there doing it also.
I just want to add that there was an instance last week where I got a phone call from Elizabeth Skidmore. She's a business representative out of Boston with the Carpenters. And Elizabeth and I sit on the policy group for tradeswomen's issues. And she called me to say, the internet is abuzz over one of your jobs. And I said, why? And she said, because there's 25% females on this job. And it was interesting because I hadn't really thought of it. The women were assigned to the jobs. It was 2 carpenters, an iron worker, and a laborer, in addition to, you know, the other 12 guys who were there. It was organic. It's because they're part of my company, not because, you know, I wanted 25. Yeah. So she was really quite excited about it, and I guess the women were really excited about it because they were blowing up Facebook. So.
You seen that?
Yeah. Everyone wanted to work on that job. Yeah.
Good evening. So my name is Fiore Grassetti. I'm with Ironworkers Local 7. I'm actually a business agent for them. So I really kind of want to just make 2 quick statements I can. One to Smith and one to everybody up here. I want to thank you all for coming in to our profession because what you're doing we have not seen in the industry, and I think it's going to be incredible as this movement moves forward. Every other month we have had a Women in the Trades event where we have union women come and share their stories with other women. I think what's going on at MGM is incredible because they're bridging the gap. We all have this brotherhood that's been going on forever. And just the passion and everything we do out there shows in what we do. And you're hearing it in the women speak. I hope you can see that because I see it. But what they're doing that we don't have, they're bridging the gap between the unions, which has never been there. The trades never played nice. And what I'm seeing here is the sisterhood expanding this to get the trades to get together. And I think that's incredible. So thank you for doing that. You're gonna bear with me, I hate speaking. So the other point I wanna make is to the college. I wanna thank you for stepping up and doing the right thing on your project. But I wanna make sure that you need to realize what you're getting into because what I'd like to see and what I've seen happen in past jobs when this gets done, it really is the union contractors that have the diversity and they're the ones supplying it. And we don't hold every contractor accountable for those goals. So you need to make sure you have corrective actions, but there's plenty of people out here that have been doing this, and they're willing to help you in any way and educate you on how to go about getting contractors to step up and make sure they have the diversity. UMass Amherst is doing it. The city of Springfield is doing it. Lisa's very familiar with these programs. I actually am on the board of the city of Springfield to the Responsible Employer Ordinance, which is a law to get women, minorities, and veterans and residents on our job. So I'm very familiar with it, and there's plenty of us that will help you to make sure that these contractors are stepping up and getting it. But it's not as easy as you think. It really takes a lot of work, so you're going to need to make sure that you're on top of this, because what I see is the union company supplying the diversity, because that's what we are. We are diverse. We're not perfect. We're getting there. But I want to make sure you realize the open shop contractors really don't have it. So I'd like to see it applied evenly across the project if possible. So thank you for stepping up. Appreciate it. Look forward to working with you.
Yeah, baby.
Hi, I'm Maddie. I'm a first year at the college. I have a question for Roger, actually. Hi. I'm wondering if you can talk a little bit about what Smith's plan is looking beyond just the Nielsen construction, and specifically why the statement released this week, as awesome as it was, why it doesn't extend to a commitment to our future construction projects, because I don't think this is the last thing we're ever going to build.
Well, it's definitely not the last thing we'll ever build, but it's the only sizable thing that we're going to build over the next couple of years. It's taking pretty much all of our resources in the short term. So we're embarking on it's an endeavor that we haven't done before, setting these goals. And the way that we are thinking about it for the future is we are not setting a policy for we're going to do everything a certain way, but we're going to do what we're going to do through Nielsen and learn from it. And we may choose to do something more extensive on the next project, or we may choose to be targeted on this plus something else. You know, we just don't know yet. So I think the way that we wrote the statement that's on the website is it's basically, like I say, we're going to do this for a year or two and then consider the value of extending it. We expect it to be successful. We hope to be successful. And there's the possibility that we can, if it is successful, maybe have a more aggressive influence down the road even, if it does work. But if it doesn't work, we have to figure out why.
Good evening, everybody, and thank you so much to the panelists and for Smith for organizing this. My name is Anita Fabos. I'm a Smith alum from the 80s, and I'm a small business owner in Northampton. My sister and I took over our family real estate company 3 years ago. And one of the things that we've been trying to do is identify women in the trades to try to work on our properties. And I think we've been thinking too small. And so one of the things that I mean, we're not at the level of Smith College or UMass, you know, we're a small potatoes kind of organization, but we would also like to get a piece of this and wondered how we could do that. How, you know, now I have some websites, I have some names, I'm gonna follow up with all of you. But there could be a sort of a market in the small and medium-sized business community, and that might be, anyway, I'm curious and I'm excited and I'm supportive, so thank you.
Well, congrats on owning a company. That's very exciting. We love small businesses. My husband is a small business also, and it's a struggle. But that's the other funny thing about women in the trades. If you're in the trades and you've stuck with it, people don't want to let you go, which is gratifying. But Lisa might have some ideas on follow-up for you as a sort of segue there, because in general, we're doing giant size projects. But there are definitely women out there in the trades that are local that are doing it non-union also.
Hi. So I know that some of you have spoken at other colleges and universities that are implementing these kind of diversity goals for their construction work. So I'm wondering if you guys could speak to the role that you see universities and students playing in this movement in the construction workforce to diversify and have those policies. And to Mr. Mosier, if you could speak to the role that you see students playing when you get to that evaluation step after the Nielsen project of evaluating how this policy went for this project and having a policy going forward, because clearly students were important to moving the college to this step with the Nielsen project.
So for federal concrete, having these type of subcontracting goals was crucial in getting my company off the ground. If these goals didn't exist, I would not be as large as I am now and as successful as I am now. It gave me the ability to sit at the table with these men and get them to see that I was a viable option to fulfilling these goals. If that didn't happen, I would not be where I am today. I'm 100% certain of that. So we're currently working on projects at Mount Holyoke, Yale, URI, UMass Boston, all because of affirmative marketing programs. I'm hoping that there will be other female owners that come behind me, hopefully not in concrete, but maybe some other trade, in order to, you know, make it so that I'm not the only one at some of these meetings. I mean, sometimes I'll walk into a meeting and, you know, it'll be 12 men and myself. I get really excited when there's a female engineer or there's a female architect there, because it's a very male-dominated industry. So.
Awareness, awareness, awareness. That you guys are here showing awareness that there is a discrepancy in the numbers is a big deal. And if you keep actively bringing it to people's attention, that's going to help us. Lisa has been a giant asset. Lisa only joined the Carpenters Union, became employed by the Carpenters Union within the past couple years. And so as an organizer, as somebody who's bringing awareness to these things and pushing it forward, she's been a huge asset. And you guys can be our asset on the ground level, on the not a member level, but just bringing awareness. That's the biggest. It's an ongoing thing. You know what I mean? It's an ongoing thing. It's showing up for work every day. It's bringing awareness consistently. And so thank you for being willing to give us a trial run. I think you will enjoy it. Lisa?
I'd just like to add on that, we look forward to being able to promote what Smith is doing with the Nielsen Library, and the more, particularly a women's institution like Smith and also Mount Holyoke that just did a project with diversity requirements as well, the more that these institutions can show leadership to other colleges in the area, the more it'll keep moving these numbers upward, both for businesses as well as for the workforce. And so we'd love to work with students, with faculty, with facilities departments on doing that. And certainly the Gaming Commission with MGM is doing that now, as well as saying, this was great that we did it at MGM. We want more owners of construction to do the same thing. So we'd love to have Smith be a part of that as well.
And also in that same vein, having these requirements sort of leapfrogs other things. As a mother of two who was in the union prior, had my children being a union member, and gone back to work with two kids, Mr. Fiore didn't mention the ironworkers are the first union locally to have a maternity clause. Like, hallelujah, that's a giant deal. That's a huge, huge, huge deal. Thank you. If the awareness of women in the workforce, in the trades, can be brought forth enough, maybe the carpenters could, add that clause. That would be enormous. Maybe it could become something where every woman in the trades had that option. It's going to make life better for everyone in a sort of symbiotic relationship. To go into the carpenters at 45% as a first-year apprentice with no training under your belt, you're going in there at, what is it, $16 an hour? That's a viable option. So bring awareness that it's a viable option. Bring awareness that it's a good thing.
Just a quick comment. At the Women's Convention, where all the women in construction go to in the country, the ironworkers have actually just adopted a new slogan, "Be that one guy." So if we see something, we're going to be saying something.
Sorry. Hi, I'm Xian Xiu Xie. I am one of the senior at Smith for engineering program. And thank you so much for coming tonight. I noticed that you guys are all working for a union. I just wondering, I heard some news a couple months ago, a lot of undocumented workers who are working for a construction site. And for those people, obviously, their condition is much worse than you guys. And I'm just curious, do you guys have any idea or have a voice for them and how we can make it better? Thanks. That's it.
I'm going to say something that Lisa might also say. That's that unions. It's not a union's place to check the status of members. That's the employer's job, and that's the government's job per se.
The thing that I mentioned before about wage theft, that is something that I think a lot of undocumented construction workers are subject to.
Yeah, and our position in the Carpenters Union is that we represent all carpenters. Doesn't matter whether they're union or non-union. And our organizers are constantly visiting non-union job sites to find out what's going on, what the working conditions, because part of that is we document that we can then share with employers who are considering those companies to be able to share if there are OSHA violations, if there are different unsafe conditions or other hazards going on. But in those conversations, we're meeting a lot of workers who many times are being exploited, are having wage theft, or where they're not being paid properly. They're not having workers' comp, and they're injured, and they're just kind of dropped off at a hospital and on their own on dealing with that. And so our organizing team works a lot on addressing those issues of helping them fight to get those wages from those employers, documenting it with the Attorney General's office, figuring out where there are cases that can get taken on by private attorneys, and helping put them in touch with them to get restitution. But the level of exploitation is huge, and it's a real problem in the industry, because if you have a company like Janet's that's paying responsible wages and benefits and safe conditions, and they're competing against a bottom line, it's the lowest figure that gets the contract against a company that's exploiting workers, it's really hard. So it's both hard on businesses and getting good jobs, and then it's also, of course, hard on those workers themselves. So we do a lot of work on exposing the wage theft that's going on, and then working with those workers that are getting mistreated on figuring out restitution, and where they can and where they have an ability to bring them into the union and have them get decent paid work. So.
My name is Mary Quigley, and I've been a carpenter for 30 years. Non-union, residential in Western Massachusetts. I live in Ashfield, and I'm really glad y'all are here. And like the reason most U.S. workers can work just a 40-hour week, we thank the union for that. And if you can make these changes in the union, it is going to trickle down to the rest of us. We may not, anybody that owns a home in Western Massachusetts, it's probably built by non-union carpenters. And that's what we do. We do one house at a time and one renovation at a time. And we work with small organizations to try and do any improvement we can for ourselves, for our workers. But if the union can do it and change the standard and get women in it and minorities knowing and used to making good money and being treated well, it's going to come to us too. So appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, so I'm going to close out the panel with one question for everybody here, and then we can take individual things down at front as well. So I teach primarily seniors in engineering, and you see some of them out there in the audience, and in their final 2 semesters before graduation. And so my question to you is, what advice do you have for them as they're about to go off and embark on their careers in very male-dominated fields? What advice would you give to my seniors sitting out there in the room?
All right, white hats. That's what we call you when we see you on a job site. Here comes the white hats.
That's a color of power. The white hat is supervisor's color. Just remember that.
Yes, every time you come on a job site, you'll see a carpenter put on his safety glasses, do whatever, all the white hats. But you guys going into the field, be strong, have thick skin, keep your head up, and roll with the punches. You got this. And talk to this lady right down here, Janet.
Don't doubt yourself. Period. Exclamation point. The end. Write it on a piece of paper and stick it next to your mirror. Don't doubt yourself.
What Teresa said. But also, it's a very interesting power position being the only woman on a job site. If you're having a bad day, oh, everybody's going to think it's because of them. Be very judicious on what days you have a bad day, because you can generally finagle things to get what you need. Keep your chin up, one foot in front of the other, show up every day. Every day, on time, maybe a little bit early, because we still have to be above and beyond until it's normal for us to be there. You got this.
So my advice to you would be to exude confidence. Know that you are really intelligent, articulate, bright women who graduated from a very difficult engineering degree at Smith College. Take that with you. Don't take shit from anybody. Stand your ground. Know you're smart. Know you've earned those hats, and be a tough negotiator throughout your career.
All right. So to the panelists, thank you so much for sharing your stories, your wisdom, your advice, your challenges. I'm truly inspired and really look forward to us making progress together toward increasing equity and diversity in construction. And to the audience, thank you for your support. Thank you for coming, for hearing this, for sharing your questions. And thank you for this wonderful evening. There are snacks in the back. There are panelists up front you can come talk to. Thank you again.
I want to just, I'd like to just add one more thing. We really do appreciate Roger and Smith taking on, putting requirements on this job. It's going to be a big construction job. We have a lot of women who are coming off of MGM in all fields. That job is finishing up this summer, and they're really excited to then be able to have an opportunity. Many of them will be on your campus, and it's great. Thank you.